is my mummy's photo in your house?
Why is my mommy's photo in your house? The little girl's voice cut through the noise of the Seoul ballroom. Min-jae's champagne glass froze halfway to his lips. She couldn't have been more than 7 years old, standing there pointing at him across the marble floor like she'd just caught him stealing. Behind her, hanging on the wall of his private study, was the portrait, the one no one was supposed to see. A woman in a teal head wrap stared out from an ornate gold frame, her expression proud and unflinching. Min-jae's heart stopped. That woman had been dead for 10 years. Who brought you here? His voice came out rougher than intended. The girl reached into her pocket. Her small hand emerged clutching a silver locket, the chain tangled around her fingers. She walked toward him with the fearlessness only children possess, crossing the space between them as if the room weren't filled with some of Korea's most dangerous men. My teacher brought our class for the museum tour, she said. But I got lost looking for the bathroom. I saw the painting through the open door. Min-jae's security detail had already noticed. 3 men in dark suits shifted positions around the room's perimeter, hands moving toward concealed weapons. He raised one finger, the signal to stand down, and knelt to the child's level. Up close, the resemblance was undeniable. She had Amara's face, her delicate features, the same stubborn set to her jaw. What's your name? Pause for a second. If you're enjoying the story, show some love with a like and subscribe. It's instant and pushes this to people who need it. Thanks. Now back to the story. Zara. She held out the locket. This is my mommy. See, it's the same lady. His hands trembled as he took the locket. The catch opened easily, as if it had been opened countless times before. Inside, a photograph no bigger than his thumbnail showed Amara laughing, her head thrown back, wearing the same teal wrap from the portrait. He'd taken this photo himself, 7 years before everything fell apart. Where did you get this? Mommy gave it to me before she went to sleep. Zara's voice dropped to a whisper, as if sharing a secret. She sleeps a lot now. Uncle Junho says it's because she works too hard at the clinic. The name sent ice through Min-jae's veins. Park Junho, the pilot who'd survived the crash. The crash that was supposed to have killed everyone aboard. Your mother is alive? The words barely made it past his throat. Of course. Zara looked at him like he'd said something foolish. She's in Gapyeong. We live there. But her name's not what you said. Her name is Mia. 10 years. 10 years he'd believed Amara was dead. 10 years he'd mourned the woman his family had forced him to send away. The woman who'd been carrying his child when her flight to Busan crashed into the East Sea. The investigation had found no survivors. He'd identified what remained through dental records. Or at least, he'd thought he had. Someone had lied to him. Someone had wanted him to believe she was gone. Zara, does your Uncle Junho give your mother medicine? The girl nodded eagerly. Every morning and every night. Pink pills. Mommy doesn't like them, but Uncle Junho says they help her feel better. Min-jae's mind raced. Amnesia. It was the only explanation. Amara had survived the crash with memory loss, and somehow Park Junho had kept her hidden in a rural village, feeding her medication to ensure the amnesia remained, keeping her away from Seoul, away from him. This locket, Min-jae said carefully. Did your mother tell you about the woman in the picture? She doesn't remember. Zara's shoulders slumped. She doesn't remember anything before the accident. Uncle Junho says a bad thing happened, and it made her forget. But sometimes she cries when she looks at the locket. She says it feels important, but she doesn't know why. A shadow fell across them. Min-jae looked up to find his mother standing 3 feet away, her expression carved from ice. Chairwoman Kong had built the family's empire on ruthlessness and control. Nothing happened in Seoul's underworld without her knowledge, and nothing threatened the Kong family without consequences. Min-jae, her voice could have frozen fire. A word. Now. He stood slowly, placing himself between his mother and Zara. The child seemed oblivious to the danger, but Min-jae could read the calculation in his mother's eyes. She'd seen the locket, heard the conversation. Already she was assessing the threat this little girl represented. She's 7 years old, he said quietly. She's a complication. His mother's gaze never left Zara. The same complication we eliminated 10 years ago. You knew. The realization settled over him like a death sentence. You knew Amara survived. I knew what needed to be done to protect this family. Chairwoman Kang's hand moved to her purse. Inside would be a phone. one call away from activating the family's cleaners. That woman nearly destroyed everything we built. Her daughter represents the same threat. Min Jae's hand shot out, gripping his mother's wrist before she could reach the phone. She's my daughter. Min Jae's grip tightened on his mother's wrist, his voice dropping to a lethal whisper. Touch her, and family means nothing. Chairwoman Kang's eyes narrowed. Around them, the gala continued, oblivious. But Min Jae's security team had shifted formation, creating a subtle barrier between them and the other guests. They'd heard the exchange. Now they were waiting to see whose orders they'd follow. You're choosing her over everything we've built? His mother's voice dripped with contempt. Over duty. Over honor. You chose for me 10 years ago. Min Jae released her wrist and stepped back. I'm correcting your mistake. His mother's face remained impassive, but fury burned behind her eyes. You have 72 hours. After that, the board convenes to discuss your position. If this child still exists, if that woman resurfaces in Seoul, your protection ends. The family will handle it permanently. She turned and walked away, her heels clicking against marble like a countdown timer. Min Jae watched her disappear into the crowd, then looked down at Zara. The girl was clutching the locket again, confusion written across her small face. Are you in trouble because of me? No. He knelt again, meeting her eyes. But I need you to trust me. Can you do that? Zara studied him with unsettling intensity for a child her age. Then she nodded. Good. Where's your teacher? Ms. Park. She's with the other kids by the sculptures. Min Jae pulled out his phone and sent a rapid message to his head of security. Within seconds, a woman in a dark blazer appeared at his elbow. Min Seo, the only member of his team he trusted completely. Get her back to her group quietly, he said. No one notices she was gone. Then I need a car. We're going to Gapyeong. Min Seo's eyebrows rose fractionally, but she nodded. She held out her hand to Zara. Come on, sweetheart. Let's find Ms. Park. Zara looked back at Min Jae. Are you going to see Mommy? Yes. Tell her Zara loves her. Even if she doesn't remember. Something cracked in Min Jae's chest. He nodded, unable to speak. Min Seo led the child away through the crowd, and Min Jae stood alone before the portrait. Amara stared back at him with those knowing eyes, frozen in oil paint, wearing the expression she'd had the last morning he saw her alive. The morning she'd told him she was pregnant. 10 years dissolved like smoke. He was back in his apartment overlooking the Han River, watching dawn break over Seoul while Amara packed a single suitcase. She'd refused his money, refused his protection, refused everything except the promise that he'd stay away until it was safe. Your family will never accept me, she'd said. Her accent had been thicker then, still carrying traces of her Nigerian roots despite 5 years in Korea. A black woman with no family name, no connections, pregnant with the heir to a mafia empire? I'm a liability, Min Jae. They'll kill me to protect you. Then I'll leave with you. And start a war? She'd touched his face, her palm warm against his cheek. Your brothers would use it as an excuse to tear everything apart. People would die. Is that what you want? It wasn't. So he'd let her go. Let her board a flight to Busan where his family's influence was weaker, where she could disappear into the coastal city and raise their child in safety. He'd planned to follow within months, once he'd consolidated his position, once he'd made himself indispensable enough that his mother couldn't afford to eliminate him. The plane had gone down 40 minutes into the flight. Mechanical failure, the investigation concluded. No survivors recovered from the wreckage scattered across the East Sea. Except there had been a survivor. Park Joon-ho, the pilot, pulled from the water by a fishing boat. He'd been questioned, treated for hypothermia and trauma, then released. Min Jae had never thought to question him further. The man had lost his crew, nearly died himself. Why would he be anything but another victim? Because he'd wanted Amara for himself. That was the only explanation that made sense. Joon-ho had saved her from the crash, taken her somewhere remote, and used medication to ensure she never remembered her previous life. Never remembered Seoul. Never remembered Min Jae. Never remembered their daughter. His phone vibrated. Minisio car ready. Gapyeong is 90 minutes. Address. Min Jae pulled up every Park Joon-ho in Gapyeong province. 3 results. 1 was 70 years old. 1 was female. The third owned a small medical clinic in a village near the mountains. A clinic that had opened 9 years ago, right after the crash. He sent the address to Minisio and headed for the exit. Behind him, the gala continued. His mother was already working her phone, making calls, activating the family's resources. The 72-hour clock was ticking. If he didn't find Amara and get her somewhere safe before the deadline, Chairwoman Kong would send the cleaners. They'd eliminate Zara first, cleanly, an accident, something untraceable. Then they'd finish what they'd tried to do 10 years ago. Min Jae's hand moved to the gun concealed beneath his suit jacket. He'd sworn never to use violence against family. But for Amara, for Zara, he'd break every oath he'd ever made. The night air hit him as he exited the building. His car waited at the curb, engine running. Min Seo sat in the driver's seat, her expression grim. "Sir, if we do this, there's no going back. Your mother will consider it betrayal. She considered it betrayal 10 years ago." Min Jae slid into the passenger seat. "This time, I'm choosing differently." The car pulled away from the curb, heading north toward the mountains. Toward Gapyeong. Toward Amara. Toward the woman who'd forgotten she ever loved him. The village of Gapyeong materialized through the darkness, like something from another world. Rice fields stretched toward distant mountains, their surfaces reflecting moonlight in silver sheets. Small houses clustered along a single main road, their windows dark at this late hour. Min Jae checked his watch, 11:47 p.m. They'd made good time, but every minute felt like an eternity. The clinic sat at the village's edge, a modest single-story building with a hand-painted sign reading Gapyeong Community Health Center. Lights glowed in the upper windows. Living quarters, Min Jae realized. Someone was awake. "Stay with the car," he told Min Seo. "If I'm not out in 20 minutes, call the team. And if Park Junho causes problems?" Min Jae's hand moved to his weapon. "He won't." The clinic's front door was locked, but a side entrance stood slightly ajar. He moved through it silently, years of training taking over. The lower floor was empty. Examination rooms, a small pharmacy, a waiting area with worn chairs. Stairs led upward, and Min Jae climbed them slowly, each footstep calculated to make no sound. Voices drifted from above. A man's voice, gentle but insistent. Then a woman's response, and Min Jae's entire body went rigid. That voice. He'd heard it in his dreams for 10 years, convinced he'd never hear it again in waking life. Amara's voice. He reached the top of the stairs and found himself in a narrow hallway. Light spilled from an open doorway at the far end. Through it, he could see a simple kitchen, wooden table, 2 chairs, a window overlooking the dark fields. And standing by the sink, her back to the door, was the woman from the portrait. She'd changed. Her hair was shorter now, natural curls instead of the teal wrap. She wore simple clothes, jeans and a loose sweater, nothing like the elegant outfits she'd favored in Seoul. But her posture was the same, the way she held her shoulders, the graceful movement of her hands as she filled a glass with water. The man facing her was Park Junho, mid-40s, lean and weathered, with the careful movements of someone used to being in control. He held a small pill bottle, his expression patient but firm. "Mia, you know the routine. The medication helps with the headaches. The headaches are getting worse, not better." Mia's voice carried frustration. "Maybe I should see a specialist in Seoul. A neurologist. We've discussed this. Seoul's hospitals are overcrowded, impersonal. You're better off here where I can monitor you properly. You monitor me too properly." She took the glass from the counter, but didn't drink. "Sometimes I feel like I'm living in a cage. That's the paranoia talking. Side effect of the trauma." Junho stepped closer, his voice dropping to a soothing register. "Everything I do is to protect you. You know that." Min Jae stepped into the doorway. "Protecting her. Is that what you call 10 years of lies?" Both figures spun toward him. Junho's hand moved toward something on his belt. A knife, Min Jae noted, but froze when he saw the gun in Min Jae's hand. Not pointed at anyone, just present. A reminder of capability. But it was Amara's reaction that stole Min Jae's breath. Her face went pale, the glass slipping from her fingers to shatter against the floor. Water spread across the linoleum in a dark pool. Her eyes locked on his, and something flickered in their depths. Recognition struggling against a decade of chemical suppression. "I know you." Her voice was barely a whisper. "I've dreamed about you. Mia, get behind me." Junho positioned himself between them, his posture defensive. "This man is dangerous." "This man," Min Jae said, keeping his voice level, "is the father of her daughter. The daughter you've been helping her raise while feeding her amnesia medication disguised as headache pills." Amara's hand flew to her mouth. "What?" "Don't listen to him. Junho's voice had lost its gentle edge, turning sharp. He's from your past, Mia. From the life that nearly killed you. I saved you from that plane crash. I've kept you safe all these years. By drugging her? Min-jae took a step forward. By stealing her memories? Her identity? Her choice? Her choice. Junho's laugh was bitter. She chose to leave Seoul, to leave you. She was running from your world, from your family's violence. The crash just gave us both a chance at something better. Us. Amara's voice cut between them. There is no us, Junho. I've told you that. Because you don't remember. Junho turned to her, desperation bleeding through his controlled facade. You don't remember how he used you, how his family threatened you, how they forced you onto that plane. I've protected you from all of it. Given you peace. You've given her a prison. Min-jae's grip tightened on his weapon. And time's up. In less than 72 hours, my family's assassins will come for her and for Zara. If you want to keep her safe, you'll let her go. Now. Amara swayed slightly, her hand gripping the counter for support. Zara, my daughter. She has your eyes. The fragment of memory that surfaced in her voice was unmistakable. Min-jae saw Junho hear it too, saw panic flash across the man's face. He'd been losing her already, the medication's hold weakening. And now the truth was crashing through whatever barriers he'd built. I won't let you take her back to that world. Junho's hand moved to his belt, fingers closing around the knife handle. I've spent 10 years building this life. I won't watch it destroyed. Then you should have thought of that before you made her a prisoner. Min-jae raised his gun, aiming directly at Junho's chest. Step away from her. The three of them stood frozen in the small kitchen, water from the broken glass seeping toward Amara's feet. The standoff shattered when Amara moved. She stepped between them, her hand raised toward Min-jae's gun, her body blocking Junho from the line of fire. Stop. Her voice carried an authority that surprised them both. Nobody dies in my kitchen over secrets I can't even remember. Min-jae lowered the weapon slightly, but kept it ready. Amara, don't call me that. She pressed her fingers to her temples, wincing. That name, it hurts to hear it. Like something trying to claw its way out of my head. Because it's your real name. Min-jae's voice softened. Amara Okafor. You came to Seoul 7 years before the crash. You worked as a translator for international trade conferences. We met at a gallery opening in Gangnam. Images flickered behind her eyes. She could feel them, fragments without context. A gallery. White walls. A man in an expensive suit asking her opinion on a sculpture. His smile when she'd been honest instead of polite. You told me the sculpture looked like someone had dropped their pasta. Min-jae continued, watching her face. I laughed for the first time in months. Stop it. Junho's voice cracked. You're confusing her, making it worse. Making it worse? Amara turned on him, and Min-jae saw the woman he'd fallen in love with resurface. Fierce, uncompromising. Worse than what, Junho? Worse than the fog I've been living in? Worse than the dreams that feel more real than my waking life? Worse than raising a daughter I love desperately, but can't remember giving birth to? Junho's face crumpled. I did what I thought was best. You were so broken after the crash, Mia. Your body healed, but your mind. The doctors said the trauma was too severe. You'd never recover those memories naturally. So you made sure she never would. Min-jae's voice was ice. What were the pink pills really? Benzodiazepines? Something stronger. Silence. Then Junho's shoulders sagged in defeat. A compound I developed myself. Low-dose sedatives mixed with a memory suppressant used in experimental PTSD treatment. Just enough to keep the neural pathways from reforming. I told myself it was mercy, that remembering would only bring her pain. You told yourself that, Amara said quietly, while proposing to me 6 times, while trying to be Zara's father, while building a life where I had no choice but to depend on you. The accusation hung in the air. Junho reached for her, but she stepped back. I loved you, he whispered, from the moment I pulled you from the wreckage. Loved you enough to save you from yourself, from him, from that poisonous family. That poisonous family, Min-jae interrupted, currently has 7 assassins on standby waiting for my mother's order. If Amara doesn't leave with me tonight, they'll come for her. And for Zara. Amara's head snapped toward him. Zara, where is she? Safe. Still in Seoul with her school group. My security is watching her, but I can't protect her there for long. My mother knows she exists now. Min-jae's jaw tightened. She gave me 72 hours to make this problem disappear. That was 3 hours ago. Your mother. The words triggered something, and Amara gripped the counter again. Chairwoman Kang's face materialized in her mind. Cold eyes, colder smile, sitting across from her in a restaurant that cost more than Amara's monthly rent. She threatened me. Before the crash. Said I was ruining you, that I'd be eliminated if I didn't leave. You remembered that yourself, or he told you? Min-jae gestured to Junho. Amara's breath came faster. I don't know. I don't know what's real anymore. Then come with me and find out. Min-jae holstered his weapon and extended his hand. Let me take you to Zara. Seeing her might trigger more memories. Real ones, not drug-suppressed fragments. So you can drag her back into your world. Junho moved between them again. So she can be your family's target again? At least here she's been safe. Safe and hollow. Amara's voice broke. I felt like a ghost for 10 years, Junho. Walking through a life that doesn't fit right, playing a role I never auditioned for. You gave me survival, but you stole my identity. I gave you peace. You gave yourself a fantasy. She shoved past him, moving toward Min-jae. A wife who couldn't remember loving someone else. A daughter you could pretend was yours. A perfect little life built on lies and chemicals. Tears streaked down Junho's face. Please, Mia. If you go with him, you'll die. His family will make sure of it. Then I'll die remembering who I am. Amara looked at Min-jae, searching his face. You're telling the truth? About Zara, about us. Every word. I can prove it. Min-jae pulled out his phone and showed her the locket photo. The same one Zara carried. You gave this to her before you boarded the flight. You told me on the phone that morning that you'd rather raise our child alone than watch my family corrupt her. Amara stared at the photo, and something inside her broke open like a dam. Memories crashed through. Not clear, not complete, but undeniable. Min-jae's apartment. His hands in her hair. His voice sang her name like a prayer. The positive pregnancy test. The fear. The impossible choice. I was running from you, she whispered. But I loved you. You still love him. Junho's voice was hollow. Even after everything I've done, you still love him. Amara turned to face him. I don't know what I feel, but I know I need to try to remember. I need to see my daughter with clear eyes. They'll kill you both. Then we'll die free. She moved toward the door, toward Min-jae. I'm sorry, Junho, for everything you've lost. But I can't be your consolation prize anymore. Junho's hand shot out and grabbed Amara's wrist. Not violently, but desperately. The grip of a drowning man clutching wreckage. Wait, his voice fractured. Just wait. If you're determined to do this, at least let me help. The medication, stopping it abruptly will cause seizures, hallucinations, possibly worse. You need to taper off gradually. Min-jae's hand moved toward his weapon again. This could be a stalling tactic. Look at her. Junho's medical training reasserted itself, his voice steadying. She's already showing symptoms. Tremors in her hands. Dilated pupils. Rapid breathing. I've been dosing her for a decade. Her neurochemistry is completely dependent on it now. Amara examined her shaking hands. He was right. She'd been trembling since the confrontation started, had attributed it to fear and adrenaline. But the headache building behind her eyes felt different from usual, sharper, like her skull was too small for her brain. How long to taper safely? Min-jae demanded. 2 weeks minimum. Maybe 3. We have 69 hours. Junho's laugh was desperate. Then she'll be dead before your family's assassins arrive. Withdrawal will kill her first. Amara pulled her wrist free. Then give me enough medication to manage the next 3 days. After that, I'll deal with whatever comes. That's not how this works. You don't get to decide how this works anymore. Her voice cut like steel. You lost that right when you turned me into your experiment. Give me the pills or I walk out with nothing and take my chances. The two men stared at her. In that moment, Min-jae saw the woman who'd stood up to his mother, who'd chosen exile over submission. The real Amara, clawing her way back through 10 years of chemical fog. Junho moved to a locked cabinet and retrieved a bottle. 3 pills daily. Morning, afternoon, evening. Don't skip doses or you'll seize. Don't take extra or your respiratory system could fail. He pressed the bottle into her hands. This is a month's supply. More than you asked for. Why? Because part of me still hopes you'll change your mind. His smile was broken. That you'll come back here when you remember everything. Remember what his world really cost you. Amara pocketed the bottle without answering. She moved through the small apartment gathering items, clothes, documents, a photo album. In a drawer beside her bed, She found the locket Zara must have taken without permission. There was another item there too, a Korean English dictionary with an inscription inside the cover. To Amara, who taught me that translation is about capturing souls, not just words. MJ. Her fingers traced the handwriting. Something warm flickered in her chest, familiar but distant. Ready. Min Jae stood by the door, his phone already out. My team is securing Zara now. We'll meet them at a safe house in Incheon. Neutral territory where my family's reach is limited. Your family's reach is never limited. Junho remained by the window, staring out at the dark fields. You're walking her into a war zone. She was always in the war zone. You just blindfolded her and told her it was paradise. Min Jae's tone softened fractionally. For what it's worth, thank you for keeping her alive. Whatever your methods, whatever your motives, you did save her from the crash. Junho didn't turn around. Get out of my clinic. Both of you. They descended the stairs in silence. Outside, Minesio had repositioned the car, engine running, facing the road for quick departure. She took in Amara's appearance with a single evaluating glance, then opened the rear door. Ma'am. Amara hesitated at the threshold between her old life and whatever came next. Behind her, the clinic's lights glowed warm and safe. Ahead, darkness and uncertainty. And somewhere in Seoul, a 7-year-old daughter who didn't know her mother's real name. She got in the car. The drive back was quiet. Amara sat in the rear passenger seat, Min Jae beside her, maintaining careful distance. She studied his profile, sharp jawline, the slight scar above his left eyebrow, the way his shoulders carried tension like armor, trying to reconcile this dangerous stranger with the fragmented memories stirring in her mind. The scar, she said suddenly. Above your eye. You got it in a knife fight. Someone tried to kidnap your younger brother. Min Jae's head turned sharply. You remember that? I remember being terrified when you came home bleeding. You told me it was nothing, that it barely hurt. Then you passed out on my apartment floor, and I had to stitch it myself because you wouldn't go to a hospital. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. Worst stitching I've ever had. The scar's crooked. I was a translator, not a surgeon. The memory solidified as she spoke, becoming more vivid. You brought me coffee the next morning. Said anyone who'd seen you vulnerable and didn't run deserved breakfast. You asked for jjajangmyeon instead. At 7 a.m. I was stress-eating. Amara pressed her fingers to her temples again. More images cascaded. His apartment overlooking the river. The first time he'd kissed her. The way he'd looked when she told him about the pregnancy. Terror and joy warring on his face. The memories will come faster now, Minesio said from the driver's seat. Without the suppressants, your brain's making up for lost time. It might be overwhelming. Everything about tonight is overwhelming. Amara looked at Min Jae. Tell me about Zara. Who is she when I'm not around? His expression softened in a way that transformed his entire face. Fearless. Curious. She found her way into my private study at a gala filled with armed criminals and confronted me without hesitation. She's exactly like you. I abandoned her. For 10 years, I've been there but absent. Half a mother. You survived. That's what matters. Is it? Amara's voice dropped. Is survival enough when you can't remember why you're living? The safe house in Incheon was a modest apartment in a middle-class neighborhood, deliberately unremarkable. Min Jae's security had swept it twice before their arrival. Minesio posted guards at both exits while Min Jae led Amara inside. Zara sat at the kitchen table, drawing with colored pencils. When she saw Amara, she dropped the blue pencil and ran. Mommy! Amara caught her daughter, dropping to her knees as Zara's arms wrapped around her neck. The embrace triggered something profound. Not a memory, but a certainty. Whatever else had been stolen, this was real. This child, this love, this bone-deep recognition. Baby girl. Amara pulled back, studying Zara's face. I'm so sorry I let you wander off at the gala. It's okay. I found him. Zara pointed at Min Jae, who stood awkwardly in the doorway. He has your picture, and he knows about the locket. He knows a lot of things. Amara smoothed Zara's hair. Things I'm trying to remember. Uncle Junho says trying to remember makes you sick. Uncle Junho was wrong about many things. Amara glanced at Min Jae. Can you give us a moment? He nodded and retreated into the hallway. Through the thin walls, Amara could hear him on the phone. His voice low and urgent, coordinating security, buying time from his family. Fighting a war she'd forgotten she'd started. Zara, I need to tell you something important. Amara took her daughter's hands. My real name is Amara, not Mia. And this man, his name is Kang Min-jae. He's your father. Zara's eyes widened. My real daddy? Yes. But Uncle Junho said my daddy died before I was born. In the same accident as you almost did. Uncle Junho told us many things that weren't true. Amara chose her words carefully. He thought he was protecting us, but sometimes protection becomes a prison. Do you understand? Zara's face scrunched in concentration. Like when you won't let me walk to school alone because you're scared something bad will happen? Exactly like that. Except Uncle Junho kept us locked up for 10 years. That's a really long walk to school. Zara processed this with 7-year-old logic. So we're running away now. We're running toward something. Toward the truth. The apartment door burst open. Minesio entered fast, weapon drawn, Min-jae right behind her. His face had gone ashen. We have a problem. My mother moved up the timeline. The cleaners are already mobilized. They hit the Gapyeong clinic 20 minutes ago. Amara's blood went cold. Junho survived. Barely. He's in a local hospital with a collapsed lung and 2 broken ribs. But he talked before they left. Told them where we were headed. How long do we have? They're 40 minutes out. Maybe less. Min-jae's jaw clenched. We need to move now. Move where? Amara pulled Zara close. You said your family's reach extends everywhere. Not everywhere. Min-jae pulled out his phone, pulling up a map. There's a cargo ship leaving Incheon port in 90 minutes. Bound for Osaka. I have contacts there. People outside my family's network. We can disappear in Japan until I figure out how to handle this. Running. Amara stood, anger flaring. That's your solution? Spend the rest of our lives looking over our shoulders. You have a better idea? Yes. We end this. Now. Tonight. Min-jae stared at her. End it how? Your mother wants us gone to protect the family's reputation. A black woman and illegitimate heir threaten everything she's built. Fine. Let's threaten something she values more. There's nothing she values more than power. Wrong. Amara's eyes blazed. She values control. And information is control. Where does your family keep its records? Financial transactions, political bribes. All the evidence of a decade of criminal enterprise. Understanding dawned on Min-jae's face. The vault. In the family estate's basement. But it's impossible to access. Biometric locks, armed guards, my mother's personal security team. You can access it. You're her son. She'll have changed my clearance the moment I defied her. Then we force her hand. Amara began pacing, memories and strategy crystallizing together. You said I worked international trade. I translated documents for corporations, government officials. I saw things, heard things. Your family used my access to gather intelligence on their rivals. Min-jae's expression shifted. The Shanghai deal. You were there when? When your family and the Triad Syndicate negotiated territorial boundaries. I translated every word. I remember now. The memory was sharp, detailed. I also remember making copies. Insurance, in case your mother ever made good on her threats. Where are the copies? Safety deposit box. Seoul First Bank, Gangnam branch. Under my real name. Amara pulled Zara onto her lap. We get those documents, combine them with whatever evidence we can pull from your family's vault, and we have leverage. Either your mother backs off permanently or everything goes to prosecutors, media, international authorities. That's mutually assured destruction. She'd rather kill us than lose everything. Maybe, but your mother is practical. Ruthless but practical. If the cost of eliminating us is losing her empire, she'll negotiate. Minesio spoke from the doorway. It's risky. But it's better than running forever. We'd need to move simultaneously, Min-jae said, his strategic mind engaging. Split their forces. I hit the estate while you get the bank documents. No. Amara stood, still holding Zara. We do this together. As a family. That's the whole point. Showing her we're united, that we're not going anywhere, that she has to accept us or lose everything. Min-jae looked at her. Really looked at her. And saw the woman who'd once stood up to his mother without flinching. This could destroy everything I've built. Then build something better. Amara extended her hand. With us. Outside, headlights cut through the darkness. The assassins had arrived early.